You're putting me on the spot because I'm a writer.
And I'm really nervous. I don't know what the I'm doing. What's the worst thing you ever said to your mother?
That's not an acceptable thing to say. That's not helping anybody.
I almost told you to off.
Boy, I sure hope that this episode never airs.
I have a question. I dare you to leave this question in the episode. I was waiting for the washroom to open, and the woman who cleans the washroom was in there. And I was like, come on, we got to do this. And then she took her cart and put it in the hallway, and I thought she was finished, so I went in. But no, she was still cleaning the floor. And she, the floor gets wet when she cleans it. That's how she does it. And she said, oh, be careful, but go ahead. Mm-hmm. So I started walking to pee in the urinal. And then I thought, oh, no. I think she means go ahead and pee in the stall, because if I pee in the urinal while she's still in there cleaning the floor, that would somehow be, sexual harassment? Or, I don't know, that would be against the law. Would that be against the law to pee in the – that's my question to you. Do you think, even though I have my back to her, there's no way she sees anything, but I think if I had started to pee in the urinal, she would have yelled. Sir, I didn't mean there. I'm still in the room.
It's weird because I would have imagined she would have been more specific if she cared for you to go into the stall. Like, hey, the stalls are clean. Like, feel free to go in there, rather than just like, it's available.
It's one little stall,
yeah,
which I assume a washroom has a stall, but, there's two urinals there, and she said, go ahead. And if I had followed the line of her hand the way it was moving, I would have thought, oh, she's saying go to the urinal. But then I thought, what do they call discretion is a better part of valor or something. Is this going to be in the show?
I don't know. We'll see.
So today we are recording the first official one.
Yes.
But you might not put the first one first.
I'm excited for this one, though, Alan, because I think we have a really good guest that is going to join you.
Okay, so now we get into the part where you say, let's guess who the guest is.
Well, let me give you the clues, okay? So, New York-based award-winning writer. That's like a full-on clue for you. Also a musician who says their music is, quote, woebegone and slightly modernist folk music of the very antique variety.
That's too much. I don't know.
Okay.
You know who I'd like it to be?
Who?
Well, I saw a movie the other day, and there was an older guy in it. He was really good. I'd never seen him before. And then afterwards, his name was like Israel Horowitz, and it turned out he was one of the Beastie Boys, whichever father.
Oh.
And he was a playwright, a New York playwright, who basically hardly ever acted, but had acted in this movie, and he was really good in it, and I thought, wow.
Okay, Alan, I think we're done here.
Okay, what time is it? Okay,
it's 11:45.
Okay, I can go out and
you have time for
push some coffee,
a coffee.
And I have time to pee in front of a washroom cleaner. You're a little out of focus. Like, why is he out of focus?
It's just the laptop that they're on.
Okay. Anyway,
do you want to ask him who he is?
Welcome to. No, I don't. Well, I thought I'm not supposed to know who he is.
He's in front of you now. You're allowed to know.
Oh well, you can tell me your first name so I know how to address you.
Oh, my name's Rick.
Rick.
Yeah.
Okay, Rick. I thought the whole thing was I'm supposed to be completely ignorant of who he. What if he tells me his last name? I go, and I go like, wow, I know, and then I get all want to ask him about. Okay, Rick, what's your last name?
Are you asking me official-like now?
I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I'm confused now. But, okay, welcome guest who's named Rick. You're in New York.
No, I'm in Boston.
Oh, you're in Boston. Okay.
Yeah, which sucks today. Boston sucks today. It's awful.
What's bad about Boston today?
Oh, it's like, 60-mile-an-hour gusts and snow and rain and sleet all happening at the same time, kind of.
Okay, so welcome in Boston. This is the first one of these I'm doing, whether it'll be the first one we air. And I'm really nervous. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, Rick. So what should I do next? Okay, so you're not a very positive person, are you, Rick?
No, I think I agreed to do this because we were going to have a brotherhood of curmudgeonly feeling. That's why I'm here.
Okay, so maybe we could begin if you by listing our favorite synonyms for curmudgeon.
Wow. You're putting me on the spot because I'm a writer. So if I blow this,
Right.
then I seem...
Well, I'll give you 2 to start off. Dyspeptic.
Oh, dyspeptic, such a great word.
Really good word because it's like peptic must be something about your stomach, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Because of Pepto-Bismol. So dyspeptic means like literally in your gut, it's churning with acid over this thing, whatever it is. Today, I got really dyspeptic over chairs. Some chairs were not made to sit in, although they look like chairs. But when you sit in them, you're like, what the fuck? Did the person who made this chair ever sit in a chair before? Anyway, now have you thought of another one?
Well, my problem is that I got this idea in my mind that's basically I transmuted your charge into a metaphor. And it got me thinking about, do you know the famous Freudian porcupine analogy?
No.
So Freud told the story that someone who was in treatment with him was like a porcupine in the following way: lonely and thus in need of company, such that the porcupine would then go and cozy up next to another porcupine, whereupon the porcupine would get stabbed and then amble off in order to become lonely again. So that was Freud's thing, that humans are like porcupines in this way, and that's what I was thinking about when you said the curmudgeonly thing.
I mean, the weird thing about what you're kind of saying, I'm such a curmudgeon that I wouldn't even want to be in a club of curmudgeons that would let me in. But actually, I would. I mean, definitely. I feel like a lot of my life is spent seeking out other curmudgeons with whom I can be comfortable. I don't know if this ever happened to you, but somebody tells you something that you very disappointing, whatever it is, and you go, oh, I just want to die. And then the person goes, you really? Like, and it's like, oh, fuck, okay. Like, I've had that happen so many times, like, oh, this makes me just want to kill myself. And they're like, oh, really? Please don't kill yourself over that chair that's uncomfortable. And it's like, okay, I can't talk to you. So, yes, I maybe I'm a porcupine, but I am looking for porcupines, and I would gladly let porcupines pierce me with their quills just for a little company.
Wait, I have a question, though. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think, Alan, that being a curmudgeon requires physical pain? This is a thing I think because, a lot of guys, what's your age, Alan?
I'm 72.
Oh, I'm 62. But my feeling is that people in our general demographic, part of the reason why curmudgeonhood comes easily to them is because they're often in physical pain. I, for one, today am in physical pain.
I think I was a curmudgeon when I wasn't in physical pain. I think it helps. But, yeah, 62 is around where it begins, that whole old age is not for the faint of heart thing. But do you have a specific ailment?
Well, I'm just starting in on the arthritis thing now.
Okay.
So my knees are just really bad. My knees are really bad. Like I can walk to the corner and I look like I need a cane.
And you're diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis? This is a good conversation. In Alan's first episode, 2 old people talk about arthritis. So eventually, I'm going to ask you some questions, but I'm going to warm you up with something Katie told me that you have a negative attitude towards. I'm assuming. She didn't say that, but I'm assuming. I mean, she says alcoholism. Does somebody have a positive attitude towards it? What's your alcoholism complaint, Rick?
I'm against.
You're against alcoholism?
Yeah,
really?
I'm against. I guess everybody is. But it's like I have a no tolerance policy on glamorizing drinking. Yeah, I find it really boring.
Oh, I see. So you would consider Bukowski to be glamorizing alcoholism?
Yeah, I'm not interested in Bukowski at all, really. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad other people like him, but that's not a writer that I go back to.
When does this glamorizing of alcoholism come into your life to the point that you can actually have a thing about it, like it's a note? Rick is famously against glamorizing.
It doesn't say that.
Romanticizing alcoholism. What's the last time somebody romanticized alcoholism that you had to be, I'm leaving the room now?
It's like an everyday thing. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, the culture loves it. I was thinking about a moment that I found particularly nauseating was in that Clint Eastwood film called Unforgiven. Do you remember that film?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really like Clint
Can I
Eastwood.
just pause to say, I love that you said nauseating. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, it causes dyspepsia. Yeah, I'm not a person who, lies awake thinking that we should lionize everything that Clint Eastwood ever did. But anyway, Unforgiven had some nice moments. But it also is like a guy who stops drinking for most of the film.
You don't realize I ain't like that no more.
Well, Will.
I hate to say him, Ned. Claudia, she straightened me up. Cleared me of drinking whiskey and all.
And then there's a big climactic moment where he drinks again, and it empowers him to do what needs to be done. I thought that was pretty nauseating.
You know what I like about that, Rick, is that that's hard to maintain. If you hate the romanticizing of alcoholism, you got to stay away from all media. So is this because you're a writer that you find it like a convenient trope that your fellow writers often use, and then they win big prizes for it, and then you're like, fuck, like, I won't do this, and that's why they won prizes and I didn't?
Well, it's wound into writing. You're right about that, because if you look back, at the Faulkners and Hemingways and Fitzgeralds and John Cheevers and everybody else, it's wound into especially North American literary writing again and again. And they were all horrible late in their career. Like, try and read Islands in the Stream by Ernest Hemingway, and you'll just hit the sludge that is alcohol taking over the writer's ability to compose.
Oh, so you're talking about two things there. You're talking about stories that romanticize alcoholism, which is, I mean, there's not that many. I'm trying to think of a story that doesn't romanticize, where, like, it comes to mind that the one thing, Under the Volcano, I think,
that's a really good
doesn't
example.
Romanticize. Yeah. He gets punished for drinking.
Stop walking in your sleep. Stop sleeping with my wife.
But otherwise, yeah. It's funny that you're saying that, because a friend of mine recently died who was an alcoholic, but never was said he was an alcoholic. Nobody. It was just like something dawned on me one day, like, oh, Harold was an alcoholic. And I don't know, I never said it to him. I have another friend, I'll say his name, Jim, who is an alcoholic, and he's all over being an alcoholic, a friend of Bill, and writes about it and all this. But Harold never mentioned it, and it was fucking sad. That's all I can say. It was just sad. There was nothing cool about it at all. Do you have any friends who are alcoholics?
Yeah, plus family members.
Oh.
Yeah, I know the story inside and out, And like your friend you're talking about, there's nothing cool about it, in my view, like the late stage thing when they're drinking a half gallon every day and that's just so that they can get up and brush their teeth. That's a lot of pain. And I agree with the disease model thing. I don't think of it as they're not responsible exactly because the body wants what the body wants, but there's nothing there to glamorize except, pain upon pain.
This is the first time we're doing this, Rick. I don't know if this is working out at all. It's called the worst podcast, and we're supposed to be negative, but we're also talk about some of the worst things in the world. So is somewhere an unsolved murder that actually you would like to confess to?
No, alas.
Okay. Did you ever, when driving, hit something that kind of went bump and you thought, ooh, I think I hit something, but you didn't stop?
I think there may be a squirrel or two, from long ago where it was night and I was really
You
worried.
think it was a squirrel?
Yeah.
But yeah,
No.
that's what everybody tells
humans.
themselves. It was a squirrel.
But I will say, have you ever hit a deer?
No. Okay, go ahead.
I have hit a deer. We hit a deer on Route 22, maybe 10 years ago. And I could tell you frame by frame what that experience was like. And it was awful.
Did you put the deer out of its misery?
No, but the policeman went to try to do it. Yeah.
Went into the forest.
Yep. We hit the deer. The deer did a couple of somersaults, and then it got up and ran off the ditch onto the side of the road. I was so freaked out. And this is why I know if your speculative version of the story ever happened, I would not be able to drive another 6 inches because I was so freaked out after hitting the deer. My hands were shaking too badly to do anything. We called the cops. Actually, there was a cop up the road at this, convenience store. He came over and he went down the ditch to try to find the deer to shoot the deer. That was his thing.
But you don't know what happened. Yeah, that's amazing the way time slows down.
I'm still thinking about it. It's whatever. 10 years later, it was just a deer.
So let's get to these questions. So give me 3 numbers between 1 and 47, and I pray it's in front of his face. Can you get rid of it?
Yep.
And I pray, oh, Rick, I just saw your last name. What if he tells me his last name? I go, oh, fuck. Okay.
It's been there the whole time.
I didn't know. Rick, I've definitely heard of you.
It's just occurring to you now.
Well, I don't. Yeah, no. I didn't look. I was looking at his beautiful face. Why would I look down there to see his name? Oh. Yeah,
okay, let's get to these questions, Alan.
Rick, nice to meet you. I don't know what I've read though. I don't. Anyway, let's go. Let's move. Okay, pick 3 numbers between 1 and 47.
7, 15, and 45.
Okay, I'm going to go with 40. I'm going to start with 45. What's the worst thing you ever said to your mother?
Oh, wow. One time I made her cry. Relatively recently, I made her cry. And I felt awful about it afterwards. But I said to her, why did you make me sleep in a tent on the lawn during that wedding?
That is a great question. How old were you when you...
I was 26, maybe. This is a long time ago, so the fact that I've been carrying this around is pathetic. But I did.
Not at all. Rick, we can't help what we carry around. The weird thing is, I'm kind of joking when I say this, but trauma is trauma. You can't, no accounting for what will cause trauma. Did you fall asleep at all that night?
No.
In the tent?
Do you ever sleep in tents? To me, it's like a back pain thing. Being in a tent is just which spot is the back pain spot that night?
No, I loved camping up until the sleeping part because my daughter would come alive in the outdoors, and it was such a beautiful thing, and I really missed that. But combining my not great ability to sleep with having to pee 5 times a night, and you have to stand up and unzip that one, then go out, then zip them back down so mosquitoes won't come in, and then pee, and then come back and zip it up, and then zip it down. It's like, yeah, now just fall back asleep? No, not going to happen. So did your mother cry because she was shocked that you still hold a grudge, or because she feels bad that she made you do that?
I connected it to certain other factual complaints.
Oh, there was a litany. What other complaints did you give her that was a capper of?
Boy, I sure hope that this episode never airs.
Your mother's never going to hear this.
It's probably correct. I went away to school at 13, and then they took away my bedroom and converted it to the guest room. So I never had a room after that.
When you came home, where did you sleep?
In the guest room.
In the guest room. Yeah. So you were the guest.
Yeah, exactly. And so I connected that. There was probably some other evidentiary material, but I basically began with I never even had my own bedroom, and then you made me sleep on the lawn during the wedding thing. And my mother cried. Yeah.
Yeah, my story is the reason that question exists because I was in line. I was at a shiva or something like that with my mother, and there was like food lined up, and I was getting food, and my mother was behind me, and she was worried that I was dipping my suit jacket into the hummus or whatever, and she kept Alan kept touching me and pulling and I was getting really fucking mad, and I turned to her with anger, and I said, "Mom, I almost told you to fuck off." And the look on her face was like, oh my God, like I should have killed her rather than say that. So that's why I think it's so funny that I didn't just say, "Mom, fuck off." But I couldn't bring myself to say that. So I pulled it, "Mom, I almost told you to fuck off." Anyway. You said 7?
Yeah.
What is the worst behavior you ever exhibited because you wanted to get something? Like, have you ever said something to get something you want that you're now ashamed of that you'd like to confess?
I'm just thinking of this one thing, and it's not a perfect answer, but it's on the list of, regrets that are so keen that they can cause knee buckling on any given day if I think about them.
Okay.
And it's that when I was an undergraduate writer at this college in the northeast of the U.S., I was in a workshop with this guy. He was like a crusty old experimental writer guy, really great. I admired him greatly. And I really always wanted to impress him, So I would try to say cool things in class because I thought Jack would think that this was cool, But I was startlingly immature, and I would venture the observation that probably none of that was cool. But anyway, one day there was a young woman in the class. She was in the sort of bottom third. She probably shouldn't have been in the class, but that's not her fault. She just applied and she got in. So anyway, she brought a story to class. It wasn't the same kind of thing that I and some of the very ambitious younger people were doing. So Jack said, "So what does everyone think about this story?" And I said, "This story sucks." And there was like a long silence in the room, and Jack said, "Rick, that's not an acceptable thing to say. That's not helping anybody." I sort of laughed. I tried to laugh it off. We went on. We talked about the story. The girl dropped out. She dropped out of college. Sorry, young woman. The young woman dropped out. And later on, I saw her one time, and she said, "You made me drop out of college. I want you to take that with you and know that day when you said that, you caused me to drop out of college."
Okay, well, I'm going to forgive you on that one because she should have dropped out. That's what I think.
No, Alan, I just fucked that one up.
Well, isn't the whole point of those writer things for you guys to criticize each other? Isn't that all it is?
No, back then it was like that. Nowadays, it's not like that at all. But.
The only thing I will say about that story, though, doesn't bother me that she dropped out. But I have to say that if you wanted Jack to be on your side, there's nothing cool about saying that story sucked. If you had said something like witheringly critical that was funny, Jack might have liked you, but that story sucks.
No, it's so bad.
It's a pretty lame thing, and that's why I feel like, yeah, if you said something good and she dropped out, you wouldn't feel so bad. But I think it's a double whammy of what you said was lame, and then she dropped out.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about that event is that it's completely changed for my whole life how I conduct writing workshops. I just would never allow the kind of stuff that, because we used to drink in class in those days. Jack allowed us to bring wine to class. So everybody was ripped by the end of the workshop. You know?
Oh, and that's another reason why now you're bringing alcoholism full circle.
Yeah.
Okay. Katie here informs me that you're a life coach. So I'm going to ask you to life coach me and how I did on this first proof of concept. Did I talk too much?
No, I think you're the funny thing in the show, Alan. You should definitely talk.
Oh. Okay. I also have to say that it's funny that the curmudgeon that you booked first on the show, his last name is Moody. How often do people say, oh, yeah, you are Moody?
So often that I'm really tired of it.
Okay. I never heard anybody say it before, so. Okay, well, should I try the last question, or we have no time? What did he say?
We have a hard stop at 1, and I just want to get one last thing from Rick before he has to leave. Rick?
Yes.
Can I get you to say, hey, I'm Rick Moody, I'm all of your wonderful titles, and then what you thought about this interview?
Oh,
okay. Hey, everyone. I'm Rick Moody. I'm a novelist. I wrote this book called The Ice Storm that once got made into a film 100 years ago. It's a really good film, probably better than
it's an unbelievably good film. Like that, I forgot that. I just have to say. That The Ice Storm is one of my examples of films that when it ends, I'm just devastated, and I can't even explain why. I have no idea why. Is it the shot of the guy slowly going down? I don't know, but I love that movie.
Hey, Alan, I'm just going to say, every time I talk about the ice storm in public now, I make someone show the clip where the guy slides down the ice. And you're the only person I know who knew about that shot.
Is that shot in your book?
No, the shot is not described in my book. It was Ang Lee's shot. Here's the interesting thing about it, Alan, which you'll like because you're a filmmaker. Ang shot the shot, turned to James, the producer, and said, "This will never go in the film."
Oh, no, that shot is that's so good, like that. Anyway, and I weirdly, even though you're saying it wasn't in the book, I admire that shot even more that it wasn't in the book.
I think that's a perfect place to wrap it. Rick, thank you so much. This has been really awesome.
My pleasure. Alan, it's really fun to meet you. We got to hang another time.
That was The Worst Podcast, a production of Double Podcasts from Canadaland. If you want to listen to every episode of this show ad-free, become a Canadaland supporter. Not only will you be helping us ensure we can continue making more of this show and others, but you'll get an extra exclusive episode of this show each week where me and Katie will do a debrief of the interview. I didn't know that they would be bonus episodes. I don't think anybody knew. But the debrief was always my favorite part of the show. So become a supporter and you can get those bonus episodes. You can listen to this podcast ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime. Okay.